Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining today's webinar. Today's webinar, we will focus on the proposal submission questions and the technical concerns that many of you have been sending to engines at NSF.gov, and hopefully today's webinar we'll be able to address many of those questions focused on Research.gov and the various registration requirements to actually submit a proposal via Research.gov. And so if you have questions, please submit your questions via the Q&A, and we'll try to answer all of those. And we hope to focus, we'll only address questions today around the Research.gov and the various registration requirements. Any policy or program questions you can submit to engines at nsf.gov, and we'll try to answer those within 2 to 3 business days. So I'll stop right there and turn it over to my colleague, Stephanie Yee, who will who will handle today's presentation, including a live demo of Research.gov. Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you. So welcome to the National Science Foundation, a technical webinar for the Engines Type 2 proposal submission. So my name is Stephanie Yee. I'm one of the project managers here at NSF that manages the Research.gov systems, the FastLane systems, and the Grants.gov systems. I'll be walking through today. Housekeeping notes. Everyone's in listen mode only. The webinar is being recorded. We also included a link to the Engines program. And as Dmitri mentioned, any program questions should be sent to engines@nsf.gov. So for today's agenda, we are going to talk not only how to use the Research.gov system, but how to get through some of the sections in relation to the solicitation that you're submitting against. I'll be going over some key milestones and some tips and tricks on how to navigate the system and submit your proposal. All right, so Type 2 full proposals must be submitted in Research.gov. If any of you have already started, so just to give you some recaps, the deadline is on Wednesday, January 18th, and it's 5 p.m. local submitters time. So just to clarify what local submitters time mean, that means the time of your prime organization and where that is located. So if your organization is located in New York, but you are physically located in California, you are beholden to the time zone of New York. That is the time zone of your organization, not the time zone of your person. So I just wanted to clarify that. Research.gov will not allow submission of proposals after the deadline. The button will actually be disabled. For the Research.gov funding opportunity, if you are searching through our website to look for it, you may find it under 23-200. I know that differs. There used to be a Y, but it is 23-200. I will be demoing all of this for you at a later time in this presentation. So the next couple of slides, I'm going to talk about what you need before you start preparing your proposal in Research.gov. So this slide is primarily on the lead organization. So this is the organization that's going to be submitting the proposal. The lead organization must be registered with NSF and any subawardees. Before a new lead organization can register with NSF, you must be fully registered in sam.gov. Fully registered in sam.gov includes getting assigned UEI number. Once you complete that process, you must also register your organization with NSF in Research.gov. So the individual who is with the organization must start that process by first setting themselves up, getting an NSF ID, and setting themselves up as the administrator for that new organization. You have to get an NSF ID account. Anyone can sign up for an NSF account. And the system will automatically detect that the organization is new and will walk the individual through how to complete registering that organization with NSF. So again, if you're the lead organization, step 1, you need to be fully registered in sam.gov. That will include a new UEI number. The second step is you must register your organization with NSF. This next slide is in regards to sub-awardee organizations. So they have a slightly different requirement, a lower threshold. A new subawardee organization can register with NSF. However, the very first step you need to get a SAM.gov issued UEI, but you do not need to go through this full registration in SAM.gov. So if you notice, that's slightly different than the lead. The lead needs a full registration, but a subawardee just needs a UEI number from SAM.gov. That process is a lot shorter, only takes a couple of days. So that is the requirement for a sub-awardee organization. Once you get that number, you have to call NSF Help Desk. And you have to tell them you are applying to this solicitation and you are a sub-awardee, you're not fully registered, and you will give them a list of information and they will have a script that they will ask you certain questions. And then you can register your sub-awardee with Research.gov. I have on this slide a lot of useful links. These links go to a lot of these guides and very specific timelines. So I encourage everyone to take a look and click on these links. The next slide is just talking a little bit about the milestones and when you should do these things before the deadline. These should not be new to you. This was advertised and also in the BAM presentations and information. So if you're the prime organization, you should be starting these items at least 90 days before the deadline. These are suggested guidelines that we provide to anyone that's trying to apply to NSF. So 90 days before the deadline, try to start the process of registering your lead organization, getting a UEI. Also 90 days, start the process for sub-awardees as well. We always try to be conservative and ask you to start this process as early as possible. 75 days out, we recommend that you target registering your organizations with NSF. So these are more account management milestones. So remember, everything I just spoke before is for the organization. So you can think of it as two different distinct populations. One is an organization that is a non-person that needs a UEI, that needs SAM registration. But here we're going to talk about people. What do people need? So the proposer, the lead PI, needs to have an NSF ID and they need to have a PI role for that organization. The lead organization must also designate a role called Authorized Organizational Representative. I'll be calling this AOR throughout this presentation. So this is the person who is authorized to submit the proposal on behalf of the organization. We have these links here that will specify what these roles mean and how to get those, but you need to have these two roles in order to submit as a lead organization. You need a PI role for the PI, and then you need somebody who's an AOR role to submit that proposal. We recommend starting this process 90 days before the deadline. You have to first get an NSF ID, and then you have to request these roles. So we have here 75 days out, prospective PIs need to register and request a PI role. 65 days out, we want you to target to get that role approved by the administrator. And 30 days out, make sure the AOR role is established and was approved by the administrator. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Research.gov system and its features. So this is just to let you know, NSF used to have we still have another system for proposal submission, and this is our system that we are migrating to. And this is where you will be submitting your proposal to. So Research.gov has a lot of new and modern features. We have intuitive user design. We have a lot of these, what I call blue eye info buttons. This is what it looks like all blown up, but on the screen, you'll see several of these on the page. And if you hover your mouse over it, it will give you relevant information about what that section is and what that means. So I highly encourage people, if you see this symbol, to take a look to see what it's saying. We have very fast uploads. It will give you immediate feedback if something needs to be corrected on that file. And we have a lot of compliance checking. So we are checking 180 things on that proposal or on that section, and we will give you actionable error and warning messages. The last bullet is just to let people know that we don't alter the PDFs. So resolutions, image resolution, graph resolution is not altered. All right, so I'm going to spend most of my time going through the demo, and I'll be going through each section to show you how the system works, and I'll be going through an actual engines preparation. So these are some of the things that I will be covering, and they are specific to your solicitation. So I'm going to go ahead and start switching my screens. I'm going to ask Julia and Rama, who are my sub-panelists, if there's any questions you would like me to address while I'm transitioning.
Sure. So we do have some questions about UEIs and about roles. So do co-PIs need an NSF ID?
Yes. If you are listed as a co-PI and you want to be listed on the cover page as a co-PI, you will need an NSF ID and you would need a PI role.
Okay. Thank you. And so what about a sub of a sub? Do they also need a UEI?
Sub of a sub. That I do not know. I will have to defer that to the engines team.
Okay, so Stephanie. So what we've been, as a program, what we've been instructing proposers is really we only care about the first sub, right? So the prime and the first sub, and we're not requesting information for the sub of a sub, and typically they're actually not even listed on NSF proposals other than in the other category. And
Okay.
so we haven't really had the case where there's a third level sub that submits an actual budget. So it's only the prime and the sub awardee who are submitting budgets. And I suspect that that's who would need the UEIs.
Okay.
Right?
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Yes. In the system, there's not a way to designate a sub of a sub. So it's only prime subs. Okay, thank you.
All right. And just one last one before we move on here. So just I think that as a recap to provide clarity on who needs a UEI and NSF IDs, both organizationally and individually.
Okay. The lead organization, sorry about that. The lead organization who is submitting the proposal must have their organization must be fully registered in SAM.gov. Fully registered also includes the issuance of a UEA number. A sub-organization does not need to be fully registered in SAM.gov. All they need is an issued UEI number, and that process is much more straightforward and much shorter. For PIs and co-PIs listed with the prime, they must have an NSF ID and they must have a PI role. For people for the sub, you can have PIs, but it requires their organizations to be fully registered. If you're a sub organization and you only have a UEI, the only personnel you can add to the proposal are senior personnel. Senior personnel, regardless of who you're working with, you do not need an NSF ID. And I hope to show this, and I hope to be clear in my demo. So I hope that was helpful. Anything else,
Thank
Julia?
you.
All right. All right, let's get down to it. So I'm logged in as myself on Research.gov, and this is the page you will see once you're logged in. I have a few roles, so you may not see all these links here. I'm going to draw your attention to the left-hand side on this box called Proposals. This is where you're going to spend most of your time. I'm also going to show you a little bit of navigation on the upper right-hand corner. Here we have some links here. Ignore the help. I know it's a little counterintuitive, but click on About. If you need to find more information about sections, or you need to get a little bit more details about how to bypass certain pages, this is where you'll find the help for proposal submission. So once you click About, you'll see a list here of services that Research.gov has. The one you want to click is Research.gov Proposal Preparation and Submission. Bookmark this page. This page is a library of information. We update this constantly with FAQs. We have very specific technical nuts and bolts instructions on how to bypass certain errors or warning messages. So I highly recommend bookmarking this page. And my favorite section is probably uploading documents. This has a lot of the details you may need for a particular section. So this is where you would find your proposal submission help. So I'm going to go back to the home page. I'm going to spend most of my demo in the demo site. So if you look at here and under proposals, when you create your proposals, you will click on prepare and submit proposals. We also have a site called Demo Prepare Proposals, and this is a test site or a sandbox for people to try out the system or at least test their documents or train new people on how to use the system. So I'll be using this because, I don't want to create any production data. So this is a demo site. We'll have lots of warning messages and orange banners just to remind you where you are. Anyone with an NSF ID can access this page. You don't need any roles. So if you have any staff members who are not going to be listed on the proposal, but they want to get familiar with the system, sign up for NSF ID. Anyone can sign up for NSF ID and anyone can get access to the demo site. On the demo site, we only have prepare new and in progress enabled because we figured most of the functionality that people need to see is the actual preparation. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare a new proposal. I'm going to click on this arrow button, and there's going to be a list of items that you can create. We're going to select full proposal. So some of you may get a modal like this, but most of you will not. This will only show if you have more than one organization associated with your ID. So I'm just going to go ahead and click National Science Foundation because that's who I work for. So you'll be taken to a wizard and it is 4 steps. The first step is to find your funding opportunity. You can type by title or by number. I'm just going to do the number. So 23-200. And the list will filter down to exactly what you need. I'm going to click on the radio button and I'm going to click next. So now I'm taken to step 2, where to apply. There's no form here, so you don't have to modify anything. And you can just go ahead and click next. This is where the proposal is going to. Step 3 is going to prompt you for a proposal type. So for engines, there's only one option that you should be selecting, and that's basic research. Don't click on the other buttons, they have different requirements in different sections. So just stick with research and click next. Step 4 is your proposal details. So the first question we're going to ask you is if it's a single or separately submitted. This solicitation is only a single, so click on the first option. Next, you're presented with a proposal title. So proposal title is blank by default. According to your solicitation, you need to preface this with a title. So I'm going to go ahead and enter my engines title. Type-2. And then I'm going to say Stephanie's demo. Just be careful. Not all special characters are allowed here. So for example, I cannot enter this little caret symbol. All right, once I have my title selected here, I'm going to click on Prepare Proposal. So you'll be taken to this page. You won't see this orange demo when you're doing the real thing. Everything you selected in the wizard is going to be up at top. So you can see my proposal title, funding opportunity, where to apply. For the title, you can change this at any time. So if I misspelled this or I want to change it, I can go ahead and change it here. There is a link called Manage Where to Apply. You don't need to click on it, so don't click on it. I'm going to draw your attention to this upper right-hand corner here. So you must select a due date if there are due dates, so it will not let you submit the proposal without selecting this. So go ahead and click on Select Due Date. You'll get this drop-down. Click on the drop-down and select your due date. And check on the checkbox. I'm going to scroll down and kind of orient you to this page. On the main real estate of this page are your proposal sections. It's broken up into 2 major sections. One is required, which is at the top, and then the bottom is optional. So for you or anyone that works on your team, you can eyeball this page to see, as you start filling these out, this compliance status here will update to a green check mark or maybe a red exclamation point. So this will tell you at a glance what files you have, if you're ready to move on to the next stage, or if there's something that needs your attention. As you update each section, last updated column will start populating of the date and time that it was last updated. Your proposal actions are on the left-hand side. This is where you will do something with your proposal. Either you share it or you add people, remove people, add subawards, print it, or delete it. So these are things that you can do with your proposal. And then these are some of your proposal details and helpful links. All right. I'm going to go ahead and click on Share Proposal. So whenever I do demos, I always recommend that whoever is creating the proposal share their proposal with your administrative staff. So in your case, it is the person or the group of people that would be that are administrators for your organization that would be submitting this proposal. The reason I recommend doing this right away is just that, when a person creates a proposal, only that person can see it. No one else at the organization can see it. Once you share it, then it kind of opens that proposal's visibility to other people at the organization. So you can see here, I just clicked Share Proposal or Change Proposal Access. And as you can see, by default, the proposal is not shared. By default, only the PI can see it and no one else can see it. So you can opt to have view-only access to everyone in the AOR role of your organization. But if they are going to be modifying it, they'll be submitting it, make sure you have edit access and make sure you have allow proposal submission checked. Only the PI can change this. So don't be in a situation where you're ready to submit and the PI forgot to check this. This will prevent the AOR from submitting the proposal. So use this wisely and just make sure proposal access is set the way you like it. I'm gonna go ahead and share this proposal. So once I share that proposal, emails go out to people in your organization that lets them know, hey, this proposal has been created and you can see it. All right. Here is because I haven't filled out anything, I'm getting all these errors because I need to fill in these sections. So I'm going to go back to the proposal. And I'm going to show you Manage Personnel. Okay. This is the screen where you are adding people or adding organizations. So you see here, there's a box up top. This is for prime organization. This is, the core prime organization. And these are any sub-organizations you want to add to this proposal. So I'm going to go ahead and click Manage Personnel because I want to add people to this. By default, because I created this, I am automatically the PI, the core PI. Here I can add co-PIs or I can add other senior personnel. So I'm going to go ahead and add senior personnel. So for senior personnel, anyone listed in this box needs to submit their senior personnel documents, their bio sketches, etc. So you have two ways of adding senior personnel. You can add them by NSF ID, and they must have a PI. Senior personnel. You can add them by NSF ID, or you can add them by name. If you add them by name, they do not need an NSF ID. You can add any name. So just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to add Brad Pitt. When you add a senior personnel by name, because we don't have an NSF ID, we don't know what their organization is. So when you add someone by name, just know that organization is blank. I'm going to add co-PI. So I'm going to go ahead and add a co-PI. I'm going to enter an ID. For co-PIs, you can only add them by NSF ID or by their email address. I'm going to click search. So if someone has more than one affiliation with organizations, you're going to see a list of them here. So Josh, for example, has 2 affiliations here. I'm going to go ahead and click on National Science Foundation to say this is who I want to add to the proposal. So now I have Josh as a co-PI and I have Brad Pitt as my other senior personnel. At the bottom here, I want to highlight other authorized users. So you may have someone at your organization that is helping you prepare this proposal. They are not PIs, they're not senior personnel, they're maybe just staff members that need access to the proposal. You can add them here. So if you have staff members who are assisting you, they need to have an NSF ID as well. That's the only criteria for having an other authorized users. A lot of people find this useful because they may have more, multiple people helping them with a proposal. They will have access to upload the sections on behalf of the applicants. All right. One thing to note, anyone you add for other authorized users cannot have the same first name or last name of anyone up here. So that is just a caveat. All right. One thing to know about roles. So remember, I mentioned PIs and co-PIs need to have a PI role before they can start being added to this proposal. Just note that role provisioning is not instant. So if I granted Josh Abbott a PI role at 9 a.m., he will not be immediately be able to be added. You have to wait at least 30 minutes. So just be aware of that. So try to get your roles set up way in advance before you add people to the proposal. Julie, I'm going to pause here to see if there's any questions you want me to go over before I move on to the proposal.
Yes. So going back, actually, can you talk about what is the NSF unit of consideration?
Oh, sure. So for Engines Part 2, you don't have to worry about this because when you select it 23-200, where to apply is automatically pre-populated. Manage where to apply is for other solicitations where you might want to add other programs at NSF. So let's say you wanted this proposal to also be looked at by biology, you can add biology there. But my understanding is for Engines, there would not, you are only submitting your proposal to one program. So I hope that answers that question. All right.
Thank you. And then another question. What is the program description number? I think this question is referring to 23-200, which is the program solicitation number that people would select. And that is right in the step one of the wizard. I just wanted to clarify that. In the wizard, when it talks about collaboratives, there are two radio buttons. The BAA says that proposals cannot be separately submitted, collaborative proposals. If you select that, will the system give you an error?
No. So be careful. So I'm going to go back to the collaborative type. So there are two options, if you remember, a single and a separately submitted. If you accidentally select it separately submitted and you're like, oops, I need to fix that, you have to start your proposal over again. Unfortunately, I know that's pretty inconvenient, so please don't make that mistake. The reason is we build a lot of our logic depending on whether or not you click the first radio button or the second radio button. So that is unfortunately not something you can change easily once you have this proposal here. Any other questions, Julia?
All right. I think let's move on, and I will start looking for more appropriate questions to ask.
Okay.
As you're demoing.
Right. All right. The second thing I want to go over is sub-organizations, sub-award organizations. I'm back to the managed personnel and sub-awards, and I added my people here for NSF. But what if I have a sub-award organization? So you can click here. For adding a sub-award organization, remember, they have to be registered at NSF in order for you to find them here. You can search for them by UEI number. And remember, you need a UEI number in order to be found, or you can search by organization name. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, I know it's Virginia, and just click search. When you click search, you'll be returned with results of all organizations that contain Virginia in the name. So I know this might be a lot. I recommend using the UEI number because then your search would be much faster. So there's two criteria, I should say, that would determine whether or not an organization displays here. One is they're fully registered. So you have here a couple of colleges, College of William and Mary, they're fully registered. They have a registration, SAM.gov, they have a UEI number, they'll show up here. But if you have a brand new sub-award organization that just got a UEI number, but they're not fully registered, they will not automatically show up here. So it requires intervention. So if you remember in the previous slide, if you're a sub-award and you just have a UEI number, you can proceed. The second thing you need to do is call IT Help Central. So when you call IT Help Central, you need to let them know that you're applying for engines, that you're a sub-award contract, and you just have a UEI number. And you need to register your organization with NSF so you can proceed with a proposal with a prime. You need to let them know your UEI number, your organization name, and your address. Other things they may ask for you are phone number, point of contact, and email of the organization. Once we get that ticket, it takes maybe 1 to 2 business days to turn that around, and then you'll be able to see this organization in this list. I'm just going to go ahead and click the very first one and click Add Subaward. So now I have West Virginia as my subaward organization, and I too can manage subaward people here. So one important note, so I am now West Virginia, I am the sub. West Virginia happens to be fully registered. So I have, I can see these 2 buttons. I can add co-PIs as long as they have a PI role for West Virginia. I can add them as a co-PI. But if you're in the situation in that boat where you are a new subaward organization, you're not fully registered at NSF or SAM.gov, you will still see the same buttons here, but the only person or people you can add are other personnel. You can add them by personal name. So I'm just going to say John Smith. So now I have John Smith under West Virginia. All right, so I hope that is clear on how you can add subawardees and how you can add people. All right, any questions before I move on to the proposal sections? All right. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to tackle, I'm trying to do this as sequentially as possible and logically as possible. I'm going to start with the cover sheet. So the cover sheet is pretty straightforward, but for engines, I do want to call your attention up to the top to requested start date and proposal duration. So this solicitation is, I believe, 10 years. So remember to enter your requested start date. You can't submit your proposal without it. So I'm just going to go ahead and randomly select a date. Let's select January 30th. And duration in months. So 10 years, 12, I can put 120. This form does not check or know about the solicitation limits. So this is on you to remember to put a correct amount here. So I'm going to go ahead and say 120 months, and I'm going to scroll down. So here you'll see, your address, your time zone, and then you'll fill this out. I will bring your attention to the section at the bottom. And make this bigger so everyone can see it. So other information. If you have proprietary information, this is where you would designate it here and upload that document here as a single copy document. So it is called proprietary or privileged information. And if you hover over the I, it will let you know what that means. And then also there's these handy dandy links where you can click on, it'll take you to the PAPG guidelines regarding proprietary or privileged information. Once you check this checkbox and you want to, tell us about the proprietary information, it will show this table here, but you can't do anything yet. So once you click save, that field will be enabled. So I'm going to scroll back down, and as you can see now, it's a link. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this link. And this is where you would update, if you have proprietary information, your documentation regarding this. And then you can just upload a document, and then you can move on with the rest of your proposal. So I'm just going to upload a random document just so it is there. All right. So your file has been uploaded successfully, and this document will not be included in the printed view because it is a single copy document. All right, I'm going to go back. And as you can see, I saved my cover sheet. It's now a green checkbox and it says no issues found.
Stephanie, should
Yes.
people include page numbers on all these documents that they're uploading?
So no. Each page, I'm hoping it is there. If you read all the bullets, I think they do say you do not need, here it is. Your file should not include page numbers. So you do not need to paginate your documents. This system will paginate it for you. If you do leave page numbers in, what will more likely happen is that our pagination will overwrite it. So sometimes people will see their page number and then our page number on top. So just be wary of it. You'll notice it right away when you click on the print preview that there's text being overlapped. So please don't add page numbers. We'll do that for you. Good question.
And what about, can people add a graphic to the cover page?
No. Cover page is a form and you can only put stuff on the cover sheet, what was shown to you in that section.
All right, and this is, there's some personal questions. Can you define the difference between a co-PI and key personnel in Research.gov?
So from a technical standpoint, the biggest difference for me is the co-PI's name is listed on the cover sheet. So let me do a print preview for you now. The co-PI's also, from a technical sense, has access to that proposal. So as the life of that proposal, if it becomes an award, only the PIs and co-PIs have access to that proposal if they're submitting project reports, et cetera, or initiating requests. So this is a print preview of the cover sheet. And as you can see, only the PI's names will show here. So Stephanie Yee, that's me, and then Josh is shown. All the other senior personnel, Brad Pitt, will not show here because we are only listing co-PIs on this page. All right, any other questions before I jump into project summary?
And if you add an AOR as a subawardee, an AOR, does that person's access is that person's access limited to just the subaward portion and their subaward documents, or to the whole proposal?
So the only person who has access to the proposals are the other authorized users and the PIs. So no, the AOR of the subawardee would not have access to this proposal.
I'm sorry, I think I misspoke. I meant to say OAU and I said AOR. Sorry, I apologize.
Okay. Yes, OAU. So just to clarify what Julia was asking, this is West Virginia. If I click Manage Subaward, and I added someone from West Virginia under other authorized user. They had an NSF ID, I added them, Jane Smith. Jane Smith would have access to the entire proposal, which is fine because they can modify and work on a proposal. This means this is another user that has access to the proposal and they have edit access. They cannot do things like submit the proposal. It's just modifying the sections. Good question. All right, Julia, if you're ready, I'm going to jump into project summary.
All right, let's do it.
All right, project summary. So for project summary, this is a short file. I think it's only one page. So one thing to note, when you are applying for this proposal, I believe you have a letter of intent number. So this will be updated in the BAM solicitation. I believe the updates will be there after December 18th or on or after December 18th. There will be instructions. If you have a letter of intent number, you should indicate that on your project summary. So just make sure that is there. Other requirements for project summary, if you can see here, your file must contain 3 separate sections: overview, intellectual merit, and broader impacts. So one thing to note is it must be on its own line. So I'm going to go ahead and actually pull up really quickly a blank document. So what that means is this, I wrote broader impacts and then there's a whole bunch of text. That will not pass compliance checks. It has to be on its own line by itself and it has to be spelled correctly. It can't be broader impact. That will not pass compliance checks, has to be broader impacts. Same for the other headers. So you have overview, needs to be on its own line. All right, so 3 sections: overview, intellectual merit, and broader impacts must be on its own line, nothing else with it. You can number them, but just be careful. There's a tolerance. So if you love Roman numerals and you have Roman numerals and you have lots of dots and it's centered, sometimes that could make the system think there's other text on that line. So just make sure, and you just be safe, that it is by itself. All right. I think that's pretty straightforward. I'm going to go ahead and upload a project summary just so we can have this going. So next section here, just some navigational. So there's breadcrumbs at the top. You can click here to go back to the main proposal, but I like to use the left navigation here where you can go down in order. And we're going to talk a little bit about project description. So your solicitation project description can be up to 30 pages. This will validate to make sure you don't go over that. So for example, I'm uploading a 69-page document. It will stop you and say you are maxed at 30. This also has required sections, but fewer than project summary. So the only thing we're looking for here is broader impacts. Must be on its own line with no other text. You are beholden to margins and fonts and line spacing rules from the PAPG. So if you are unfamiliar with that, you can click on the PAPG format. This will open a new page that talks about the formats you can use and the line spacing, and it'll take you to this section. So here, Arial 10, New Times Roman, font 11 or larger is the fonts. The system will not prevent you from uploading a document that doesn't have these fonts, but just remember that internal staff will be compliance checking fonts and margins. So even though the system may not stop you, there will be compliance checks at NSF to make sure you're complying with those requirements. Same goes with margins. You should have 1-inch margins everywhere. We need the margins because sometimes we stamp, date and times and the page numbers. So we have to make sure that we're respecting the 1-inch margins. So one thing we are checking, and you may get a warning, so I'm going to go ahead and share this to you, is line spacing. So I just want to let you know the system is a little finicky about line spacing, but I just want to explain to you how this works. When you upload a document, you may get a warning that line spacing is smaller than 6 lines per inch. Arial 10, I'm just going to preface this. Arial 10 is more problematic than any other text. And it is not a problem with Arial 10. It's more of how most word processing software treats Arial 10. I'm going to go ahead and pull this document back up. So this is Arial 10. And if you notice, this is all Arial 10. But if you notice, between the headers and the rest of the text, Word or any word processing will adjust the line spacing just a little bit. And it adjusts it just enough that trigger the line spacing errors. In order to overcome it, you would have to go back into Word or whatever word processing software that you're using and force the line spacing. So in case you missed it, in Word, there is something called paragraph settings. You click on it, and you can see here, line spacing is multiple. You would have to set it to exactly 12. And then it kind of changes it for you. Now, that is a lot of formatting gymnastics that a lot of people probably don't want to tolerate. I will say the other fonts are a lot less problematic. So I would say experiment with the other fonts. There are 2 other fonts you can use with the size 10 fonts. But if you adjust the fonts to 10.5 or 11, you are most likely never to encounter this warning. So this is just a comment. Yellow means it's a warning. It will not stop submission. So that's all I want to say about line spacing. So just be wary of that. If you call IT Up Central in advance, we are more than happy to tell you where the line spacing problems are. But just know that, we can never tell you it's okay to submit because we don't know if something else on your proposal is violating this line spacing. So this is just a call to you to double check your document. The last thing I want to bring up on what is this section checking? We'll look at here. Hyperlinks cannot be used in the project description. So this means you cannot have anything in your document that is a clickable link. So if it's an image and there's a hidden link in it, you can click on it and it goes to a website, that will be flagged and you would prevent it from uploading that file. Also, if you have any text that looks like a link, that will be prevented from being uploaded. So anything that begins with HTTP, HTTPS, or www will be flagged as a document that has a URL in it. So just be wary of that. This is there because it's in the PAPG. We don't want any question or anything in the document that might be used to bypass the 30-page limit. So just be wary of that. I suggest if you're working on this document, continuously upload the document just to see if you're catching these things. If you cannot find the URL, sometimes we find citations cause the URL problem. A lot of people use third-party tools to manage their citations. Sometimes that will enter a link that you cannot see. Also for LaTeX users, they have a slightly different challenge. A lot of times LaTeX users, when they are using images from publications, that publication will have embedded links in it that you cannot see. So I highly recommend if you are a prevalent LaTeX users, I want to bring your attention to here, which is our GitHub site for NSF LaTeX samples. So I believe a lot of the people you support may use LaTeX instead of Word, and this is a very valuable resource for them. This was put together by a volunteer group of program officers at NSF. And I understand that if you're a LaTeX user, you may have different packages you prefer to use depending on your discipline. So we have 3 samples here. We have 3 sample LaTeX files and 3 sample output files. And whenever we get IT Help Central tickets about LaTeX files and how they're not passing the compliance checks in Research.gov, we put very practical information on how to overcome that. So some of the common things we're seeing in LaTeX files are the headers are not being recognized. That's because they're not being tagged as headers, or the URLs. So sometimes images are transferring URLs that people cannot see. So this is a very valuable resource. This link is in the presentation. So this is very useful for anyone in your organization that uses LaTeX. I want to pause here, Julia, just to see if there's any questions on project description before I move on.
Yes, you said that the headers have to be on a separate line. Can they be bolded or underlined?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And there is some questions about the page limit for the project description.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, if you go over, the system will flag you, right? They
Yes,
will
stop you.
So it is 30 pages.
Correct.
And if you go submit something that is more than that, it will not allow you to upload it.
Correct.
And similarly, the project summary is limited to 1 page.
Correct. File cannot exceed 1 page. So page limits are easy for us to validate. So you're either over or you're not. So we will stop a file from being uploaded. Okay.
Are hyperlinks allowable in any other document besides the project description?
Yes.
Okay.
Only project description disallows URLs. So you can have them in other sections. Good question.
Thank you. All right, let's move on and we'll jump back to Q.
All right. So I'm going to jump into budget actually. Just want to make sure I utilize my time here. So when you click on budget, you'll be taken to a screen that looks just like the screen that you saw under managed personnel. You'll see your prime organization and any sub-awardees that you added down here. I'm going to go ahead and click on National Science Foundation because that is the prime. So when you come to this page here, it's a little narrow. So just one trick for everyone. You can hide the left side navigation. That will expand your window a little bit. And on the budget, you'll see at the very top, it'll always remind you where you are. You are the prime. So this will always say prime, NSF, and this is your budget. By default, anyone you've ever added in the personnel section is going to show up here. So you have myself, Josh is my co-PI, and Brad Pitt, I entered his name as other senior personnel. They will populate here. Some things to notice, you can expand all rows and collapse them if you want to change how you view this budget. And this is how you add and subtract years. So remember your solicitation, the program's only expecting 2 years. So the system doesn't have a limit. So you know, it's not going to stop you if you add more than 2 years, but just read the solicitation and make sure that you have this right. So I probably did that really quickly. You can, if you click on add year, you can add a blank year or a copy from an existing year, and you can pick which one you want to copy. And then as the same, you can also delete years. So you can say, oh, you know, oops, I added a 3rd year and I didn't want to do that. You can go ahead and delete a year. All right. So back to senior personnel, you may say, well, you know, well, Brad is not getting any money. So I don't want his name to show on this budget. That's very easy to do. So what you're going to do is under senior personnel, there's a link called manage. I'm going to click here. Manage is going to allow you to add or remove names from the budget. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Brad and say, I want to remove that person from the budget. So now the page is refreshed and I only see myself and Josh, who are the co-PIs. So for the budget, you must have at least $1 for a person. Like I couldn't leave Josh here at 0. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do this. If you have other personnel, I'm not gonna go through all these sections. You know what you need to fill out these sections. I will highlight postdoc scholars. So if you do have them, I'm gonna go ahead and add one. So I would say the only special thing is postdoc scholars. If you do have a value here, so I'm going to say $44 for postdoc, and go ahead and click save. You're going to be warned that a postdoc mentoring plan is required. So if you have at least $1 in that line, you have now additional section that you need to upload before your proposal can continue. If you don't have postdoc scholars, just leave it blank, and you do not need to update that plan or upload a plan there. So I'll go ahead and click save and move on with my life and go back to budget. So similarly, my subaward also has a budget. You don't have to put anything here. Like if I left this completely blank, you can move on. All right, so it's the same deal. Same functionality for subs. All right. I'm going to pause there just to see if there's any questions about the budget. Some common questions I get for the budget is there an offline version of the budget where you can work offline and then upload it? The answer is no. So you have to enter it in the form here. Okay.
That was the question that I was going to ask you.
All right.
And so we're just asking proposers to enter 2 years of budget, correct?
Correct. Although the system won't stop you if you add more, but I believe the solicitation is only requesting 2 years. So you should not do anything other than what the solicitation is asking for. All right. If there's no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and skip to senior personnel documents, if that is okay. All right, senior personnel documents. This is probably the second most called section at IT Help Central. So I want to make sure I go through this in detail for you. So senior personnel section is, in my opinion, pretty handy because you can see all your people, all your relevant people for your proposal. So I'll go ahead and collapse all. So here you can see in one shot, all my people from my prime and all my people that I've listed for my sub. So you can see here, Stephanie, Josh, and Brad, regardless of if they're taking money or not, are listed here. And then I have John Smith, who is part of my subaward. So I can see here really quickly at a glance, who are my people and whether or not they have their documents. So I'm gonna go ahead and expand all. And as you can see, I haven't uploaded anything, so no one has anything. This is good because you can, of course, scan down the list to see who needs what documents. All right, I'm gonna start with BioSketch. So all your people need BioSketches. And at NSF, there's 2 formats you can submit the BioSketch for. You can use Science CV. So Science CV, if you just Google Science CV, NSF, you can use your NSF ID and it will single sign you on to NIH's website, Science CV, and you can build your CV there. The other alternative is to use the NSF approved fillable PDF for biographical sketch. So if you look here, here is a very handy dandy link to the BioSketch and PatG if you want to review that. But if you're looking for that template, you can click here and it'll take you to the policy page where this template is housed. So I just click on the link. I'm actually on the policy page right now. Let me make this a little smaller so it's not so big. This gives you all the information I just mentioned, and then the fillable PDF is here. So just go to fillable PDF. You're going to click on this. And depending on your browser or what you have defaulted, it'll open up. Let me move this over. It'll open up in a browser or whatever application you have open for you to fill this out. So of course, make sure you have your name and then where you're from, and you fill out everything else. Please be wary. We recommend that you use Adobe to fill out this form. But we do realize people have a lot of tools that they can fill out this form. I would say just be careful. There's a lot of tools out there that do not support this document. And what I mean by that is we are looking for certain metadata in this form to make sure it's an NSF approved format. If you are using some of the tools I know of, Foxit Pro is one. I know Dropbox has a PDF editor. Those kind of other editors might overwrite some of the metadata we're looking for, and then our Research.gov system won't recognize it as a NSF form anymore. So just be careful. Another culprit of a tool or program that could overwrite this data is a lot of the programs on Macs. So be careful with Safari, be careful with some of the the PDF editors on Macs. So just be careful of that. I would say for the best experience, use Adobe if you have that and fill that in. Also, depending on the browser you have it open, there may be, so you can do save as PDF or you can print as PDF. Some browsers, one or the other will work and one will not. So just be wary of that, but I say fill these out early, make sure they upload, and I recommend using Adobe if you have it. All right. Any questions about BioSketch? So you have two versions of this, Science CV. I do like Science CV a lot. So if you're motivated, I would say use Science CV, but fillable PDFs will also work. But just be careful about what kind of application you use to fill that out. So I'll go ahead and upload a fillable CV just so we can see how that works. All right, the next document I want to talk about is current and pending support. Get my notes here. So current and pending support is not required as submission, but you have to have a file there. So I'm here to tell you that the system doesn't know that the solicitation says you don't need to have it, but you have to have something there. So the best guidance we're going to provide is that you have to upload. You can just upload the template. So just like the current pending, the BioSketch, you have two versions. You have the Science CV or the fillable. I just recommend that you open the current and pending support, download the fillable PDF. Let's see, here it is. And then when you open it, this is what it looks like. It's 27 pages long. It's quite long. Just put your name down and save the document uploaded. That's all you need for now. The system will automatically trim blank pages, so you won't have all these empty pages. So that is a useful feature that we have. Don't trim it on your own. Use the system, let the system trim that for you. That ensures everyone's documents are treated the same and that you won't have any unexpected consequence. All right. Any questions, Julia, from your end?
No, except for the BAA is going to be updated with some of this updated guidance, correct?
Yes, I am
Specifically
told
about current and pending support.
Yes, I'm told it'll be updated December 18th, I believe, or later. Dmitri is in the
Great,
process of
thank
updating that. All right. So the third senior personnel document that we require is called a single copy document, which means reviewers do not see it. It is like a secret document only NSF can see, is what I call COA. So it's collaborators and other affiliations. This is an Excel document. So I'm going to go ahead and click here and talk a little bit about this. This is also a section that gets often called calls at IT Hub Central. You must download the template from the website. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. It's going to take you to a similar page, what we've seen before. And then there's a template here down here, and you will open it. I'll go ahead and open this just to show you what it looks like. And I'm going to show you or talk a little bit about some tips on how to update this. All right. There's a lot of instructions. Please read carefully on what you need to provide in each table. This is to help NSF identify conflicts when we have reviews. All right. So we do plan to update these instructions in January. So depending on when you download this template, you may have a slightly different version of instructions, but both will work. So one thing I want you to take away from this is that you must use Microsoft Excel to modify this document. Do not use Google Sheets. Do not use their Mac version of spreadsheets or any other software. At this time, only Microsoft Excel will work. These tables have a lot of embedded code in it. We are expecting certain values on some of these columns, and we're expecting dates to be in certain formats. So just be wary of that. Truthfully, we get very little calls about people who don't have Microsoft. So we do find it's at least prevalent enough for you to find someone to fill it in and make sure it's filled in Microsoft. But if you do have problems acquiring that, I highly recommend that you fill this out first and call IT Hub Central. IT Hub Central has very limited resources in helping people fill out this document. So I just want you to be aware of that. So no Google Sheets, no Mac spreadsheets, use Microsoft Excel. The second thing I want you to take away is to respect the requested date formats. You can see here it is month, day, year. Do not put anything else in there that doesn't meet that date criteria. Do not put words in here. It has to be month, day, and year. Don't put month and year. It has to have a date in it. You will know that you have a problem because when you upload this document, you will see blank fields everywhere. The program, Research.gov, would not be able to interpret that correctly, and your fields will be blank. All right. Another thing to mention to you is organizational affiliation. We are looking for the name of the organization. If you want to provide a location, do city and state or country name. Do not put full addresses. The reason we don't want you to put full addresses is there's a character limit to here. There's a character limit of 255 characters. So if you have an institution in Australia and has a super long name and you have lots of street addresses and phone numbers, that could cause the document to fail upload. So I'm gonna pause here. That's a lot of information. And I'm gonna see if anyone has questions about the COA document. I'm gonna go ahead and upload a sample document so you can see what it looks like. So I uploaded a document that has funny invalid characters. So you can see here, it'll tell you which table, which column, and which row needs to be corrected. And be careful about invalid characters. So if you have international addresses or people's names, just know that that may not be detected. So I say if you are encountering that, it's very frustrating to try to figure that out. Just retype it with your US keyboard, and that would work. All right, and I'm going to upload a good file so you can see what you're looking for. All right, so we take the file, we extract it, we redisplay it to you. You will look at it and say, this looks good, and you upload it. And this is true for every section. I want everyone to double check the file that's uploaded. That's the truest way to see if we had interpreted your data correctly. So always, please, for every section, make sure you preview it. All right. Julia, any questions or comments you want me to address about the other documents?
Yeah, so just to reiterate, the current BAA says that current and pending support is not required to be provided by senior personnel at the time of proposal submission.
Correct.
But Research.gov requires a document in order for the proposal to be submitted.
Correct.
And so if you could just show that for each senior personnel that there is a document for every single person. I mean, yes, there's 3 documents for all of these.
Yes. Yes. So as you can see, that's a lot of documents to upload, but hopefully, you don't need to fill out the current pending support. You just need something there that is of the valid format. So we just recommend download the template, put your name in it or put the name in it and just upload it as is. And then of course, BioSketch and COAs, you do have to fill those out. I recommend doing this early just to make sure there's no issues. Some questions I get about the people listed here. One question I get is, when I print the proposal and I see all the people listed, can I force the order? And the short answer is no. So don't pull your hair out over that. Depending on when you added people, the order of those people will be listed differently in each section. So I'll just say it right now, current pending support section and BioSketch sections, those 2 sections already list people in a different way. So don't think you can force the order of people, how they're listed, because you cannot change that order. It's not random, but it's a little bit on when you added that person. All right, any questions on senior personnel?
So how do you add a co-PI or senior personnel who is not associated with the subrecipient and is not a person associated with the prime?
What kind of personnel? PI or co-PI or senior personnel?
Yes.
Both?
A co-PI or senior personnel who's not associated with the subrecipient and not associated with the prime.
Okay. So in my example, Brad Pitt is not associated with NSF. So I added him by name. So I'll go ahead and kind of remove him and kind of show you again. You can add anyone by name to any organization. There's no, our system's not going to know Brad Pitt is not associated with NSF. So I'll go ahead. Oh, can't have numbers. Brad Pitt's. For co-PI, you can remember, you need to have an NSF ID and you need to have a PI role. However, let's say you have a co-PI from University of Virginia. Their university is fully registered. That PI already has a PI role with UVA. Their NSF ID, you can add them. There's no system check to see if the people you listed under NSF is associated with NSF. Does that make sense? What we're checking for is if you have a valid NSF ID and you have a valid PI role. And you can't have a PI role with an organization unless that organization is fully registered. So if we go back to managed personnel, let's pretend West Virginia is brand new and they only have a UEI number. They're not fully registered. They had to call IT Up Central and give them their name and UEI, and then we added them here. The only personnel you can add for West Virginia if they were not fully registered is senior personnel. Because if you tried to add co-PI, you wouldn't be able to do that because there's no admin, there's no, you can't request roles for an organization that's not fully registered. I hope that is clear. And I just glanced at a question. I just glanced at a question of the differences of PI and co-PI. In the systems, they're almost equal. So there's not they both can log into the proposal. They both can submit proposals. They both can edit. They can, if they have an award, they can both create, annual project reports. Yes, Julia, sorry, I cut you off.
No, I interrupted you, sorry. Most collaborators who are not receiving funds from the proposal be added as senior personnel? And the second question is, how should they be included in the personnel?
So yes, you can add people and they don't take a budget. So here I added Brad Pitt, remember? And if I go to budget, his name should show up by default under the budget. But if he's not taking any money, you remove him from the budget. Okay, so here I can remove him from the budget, but that doesn't remove him from the proposal. If I go to senior personnel, let's see, let me save this so I can show you. So I save it. Brad's no longer on my budget. But if I click on senior personnel, because he's on that other screen, he's here. So he is on the proposal, but he's not on the budget. And what's the second part of that question, Julia?
Sorry, how should they be included? And I think you answered that.
Yes.
As senior personnel.
Yes. If you want to include a senior personnel, but they're not taking any money, you can add them by name. So that's how I did it with Brad. I added him by name. And he is required to have COA documents, biosketch, a blank CMP document, but he's not on the budget. So if you printed this, it will not show. All right, any other questions, Julia, before I move on?
Let's move on and we.
Okay. All right, so the next section I'm going to go to is facilities, equipment, and other resources. Pretty straightforward compared to the other sections. This is a very straightforward section. Rarely get any tickets about this. You are not required to have a document that has a lot of content in it. I believe you can upload just a document that says not applicable. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that. So I have a facilities engine, and let's see if the preview comes up. If not, so remember, our system is checking if the file exists. Your solicitation says you don't need to provide this, but you have to have something there. So I just created a dummy file that says facilities, equipment, and other resources and not applicable. So that is how you would complete the facilities section. All right.
And Stephanie, some of these tips that you're giving, like the one that you just did, this is in the presentation, correct?
Yes. Yes.
That will be posted.
Yes.
Right.
So everything I'm mentioning here will be in the presentation. So you can go back in case you can't remember. So these other sections, they're required. I just didn't go over them just because, they don't have anything special or unique. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip over to other supplemental documents. So I just covered some sections here under required. I'm going to move down here to optional so you can kind of see what this is. So optional is exactly what it means. You don't have to have anything here, but I believe your solicitation is asking for other supplemental documents. So I'm going to go ahead and go into this section. So your solicitation has, let me pull up my notes. You have to upload here your consolidated personnel list and mandatory disclosure. So one thing about this section is you can upload one or more documents here, more than one file here. The only criteria you need to know is that it only takes PDF. So my understanding is that these documents are originally in an Excel template. You would have to fill that out and then save as a PDF. Let's see. So I'm just going to upload a random document. I don't have a personnel list, but I'll just upload just a random document. So you can upload more than one document. There's no limit, but of course, don't upload anything that you shouldn't. This is where you would enter those two documents, the consolidated personnel list and mandatory disclosure. Hope there's no questions about that. There is a file limit that applies to all sections. 10 megabytes is the max that you can upload for these sections.
There is a question about the project consolidated personnel list, and this is listed in the BAA, about using the generated proposal ID, reference that in the project consolidated personnel list. Can you talk about when the proposal ID is generated in Research.gov?
Let me put that as a note. So Laura, this is a note I think I asked about. So the proposal, let me go over the proposal number. All right, so I create my proposal. You see this number here. It's like a 5-digit number. This is not your proposal number. This is what we consider a temporary proposal number. When you submit a proposal, you will get a number that will start with 23, and that's when you know a proposal is in. So that is your real proposal number. So I don't have an answer for you, I guess, on what to do with that proposal number on this section. I would say it's probably not this number, because this is a number that kind of disappears after you submit your proposal. So I would say this is an engines question. So I would ask that to engines, and I'll make a note to make sure Dmitri knows about this question, so we can make sure we clarify that in instructions. So Laura, I didn't know if you had any insight to that, but at this point, if you were me right now, this is not your proposal number. You would not get a proposal number until you submit. I hope that's clear.
Great, thank you.
Okay. All right. So I actually was not going to demo anything else. I was going to go back to the presentation and hopefully to finish that. I know that we are trying to get out by 3 o'clock, but I want to make sure that we have time for questions. So Julie, if there's any questions during the transition, now is a good time to do that.
All right, so we already talked about the headers that are required for the project summary and project description. Are any headers required for the budget justification?
No.
Okay.
I say that with slight hesitation. I don't think so. I don't think there's headers in budget justification.
Okay. And so people in the Q&A are talking about needing that number that we talked about for that document, also in the regional map as well. So the engines program will provide clarity on that number and what it needs to be.
Okay. All right. Can I move on, Julie? All right.
Yeah, please.
So the next couple slides are going over in words written down, everything that I've hopefully have demoed to you. So I have notes here about the cover sheet, duration, proprietary information, and summaries. So this is a really good, I guess, cheat sheet to have just to see what you may need to know about that particular section to complete it. So we have facilities, senior personnel documents. Remember, all 3 documents have to exist. But for the ones that you're not required to submit, we still need a file. Just put your name on it. Data management plan, that's pretty straightforward. It's required. You need 2 pages. And then remember, you cannot upload a postdoc mentoring plan if you have no budget for that postdoc person in your budget. All right.
So there's a question about uploading the regional map. Does it also need to be created with MS Word and not with a Mac? So maybe this is a good time to talk about the how documents, if they have to be in PDF or Excel or whatnot.
So for other supplemental documents, all we're checking is that it's a PDF. So it doesn't matter if you modify that Excel in Google Sheets or Macs. The only section that requires something other than a PDF is that COA document, and that must be modified in Microsoft. Everything else is PDF, and you're free to use whatever you like in the original format before it's converted to PDF. For the fillable PDFs, I would say that's a caveat as, be careful because those fillable PDFs were depending on certain metadata to exist. So for that one, so I'm talking about current pending support and the BioSketch. Those I recommend use Adobe. All right, Julia, anything else?
So for current pending support, you shouldn't just have your own Word document, right?
Correct.
Where you put your name on it. It has to be an NSF approved format, correct?
Yes, yes. So when you're on that page, remember I clicked on that link, it took you to a policy page. That's the template you should download.
All right, let's move on.
All right. Oh, sorry. Submission timelines. All right. Please remember this. The deadline is January 18th. It is a Wednesday after a federal holiday. I will let you know there are 21 deadlines that week. That is an extraordinary amount of deadlines that week. It's probably one of our busiest weeks at NSF. What that means to you is you may experience higher wait times or resolution times at IT Help Central. So I highly recommend, this is suggested, this is not a mandate, that you try to submit your proposal at least 1 week before the deadline. I know that's not always doable by most people. A lot of people wait to the last minute, but I say, please, 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 at a minimum, start uploading your sections way before 1 week, because you will encounter something you're not expecting and you're going to need help from IT Help Central. And you are one of 21 deadlines that week. So it's going to be very challenging to get, instant resolution. So I plead with everyone, give yourself some time to complete this with enough time. All right. Another thing to note is, let's say you submitted your proposal 1 week before and you're like, oh, I need to make an update. You can make updates without NSF approval up until the deadline. Everyone has that opportunity to change the proposal before the deadline. So just know that if you submitted it early, 2 weeks early, 1 week early, you can submit a change as long as it's before the deadline. You can submit changes after the deadline, but that would require NSF intervention. All right, so these are some suggested timelines. Please do it 1 week out, and then you would be able to handle any issues that you encounter. All right, help desk reminders. These are our hours. We work Monday through Friday, 7 to 9. Reminder that January 16th is a federal holiday, and that Tuesday is going to be pretty busy. Any program-related questions, please email to Engines. If you are creating IT Help Central tickets, I'm often asked, is it better to call or email? I say do both. Always get a ticket number. And please note that a lot of issues don't have quick turnaround times. We need to involve developers, and they do not have the same hours as IT Help Central. So just be wary of that. Only the people answering the phones have these hours, but maybe someone else that needs to approve something don't share the same hours. So that's another reason to kind of get things early.
And Stephanie, when you say IT Help Central, sorry, you mean the NSF Help Desk, correct?
Yes, NSF Help Desk. Yes.
Okay.
NSF Help Desk. Sorry. Yes. Thank you. System outages. I want to let everyone know that NSF performs system maintenance or releases over the weekends, and that's almost every weekend. So if you are hoping to work on it, Saturday before the deadline, you are likely to encounter an outage window. So we try to limit these outages as short as possible. We always target to have everything operational by noon on Saturday, but sometimes things happen. So just be aware that it is not a 24/7 type of situation. You will be facing potential maintenance. We don't have an idea of what our outage windows are until the week before, but I'm letting you know that there's a general outage window, and we'll know the times a week before. All right. All right, training. So as I mentioned, everyone with the NSF ID can access the demo site and test their file uploads. You can do that as a normal user. This link here, I won't go over it, is the page I asked everyone to bookmark. We have a lot of help guides, videos, quick guides. I would say just, browse those for nighttime reading. This slide is for LaTeX users, so this is something you can reference and share with your authors. And this is just a consolidated page with all the links that I mentioned in this demo. All right, so thank you for your time. I think we have some time for some questions, and I am going to pause here to see, Julia, if there's anything you would like me to address.
Sure. Can you talk, what is the expected start date of the Engines projects? What people should put in there for the start date?
That is a program question. I'm hoping.
Stephanie.
Yes.
We've been telling people, hang on a second, let me find that answer, what we've been telling people, and I'll get right back to you, okay?
Okay, great.
All right. Um,
I see a question in the chat. Are any sections character limited? And I think the answer is no. They're usually page limited.
do subawards, can you confirm subawards don't need to submit a budget?
So if you have a
In the
subaward organization, a budget will be created. So let me change. Let me go back to my demo. Whenever you start adding organizations here, a budget automatically starts getting created. It's a program question of whether or not it can be 0, but the system will allow it to be 0. So let me go ahead and click print, kind of show you what it looks like. Whenever you start adding organizations, that organization will have its own budget printed. If that makes sense. So here I have a print preview of the entire proposal, has your cover sheet, etc. But if I scroll down to budgets, you will see 1 for NSF and 1 for the subaward. But right now it's 0. So you could leave it 0. And this is the prime. I don't know if that answers your question. I would say, you know, it's your situation is maybe unique to you, or I don't know how you're breaking up the work in your proposal. That's a question for program. But from a system standpoint, as long as you keep adding an organization, a new page will be on the proposal with that subaward's name. If you don't have anyone there, the only budget you'll see is the primes budget. I hope that makes sense. But I don't think it's stopping you. It won't stop you if you have $0 for the sub. So if I click here, so remember, if you at any time want to see, hey, is my proposal going to be compliant? All you have to do is click Share Proposal with AOR. Scroll to the bottom, and you'll see all the errors that you have. And right now, oh, I have a person that I need to have months, and then I can remove that person. So let me go back and show you that really quickly. So it says, wait, you can't submit it because John Smith doesn't have a budget, but you know what? I'm going to remove John completely. Click Save. And then if I go, oh, stay on this page. And then if I share it again, I should get a different error message. Yeah, so if you notice, the budget error message went away, but now I have a different message saying, oh, you need to upload a budget justification. So the answer is subaward, the budget itself can be 0, but you must have a budget justification. It's a good question, Julia.
Can you talk about the difference between an error message and a warning message?
Yes. So I'm going to scroll down here. So as you saw, I can see all my error and warning messages in one page. So this is only viewable for the PIs and AORs. Other authorized users don't have this view. So that's one challenge for other authorized users. Everything in red is going to prevent submission. So you have to fix those. So here is, I'm missing a reference as cited. I'm missing my budget justifications. I'm missing bio sketches for people and data management plan. Here is a warning. It's not going to stop you, but it's letting you know, hey, you may need to take a second look at this. So this will show here, but it won't stop you. Hope that is clear. Red is you're stopped. Warnings are suggested that you look at it again, but it won't stop you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right.
We're at 3 o'clock. Are we continuing, Laura?
Yes. Oh, I see Dimitri's back. Is there any questions for program or we can do that later?
Stephanie, did you see the date for that date question? 9/1/2023.
Oh, okay.
Question. Okay, go ahead.
That's Laura, is that the suggested start date?
Correct.
Okay. So just for everyone's reference, the suggested start date is 9/1/2023. Thank you. All right. Any other questions or final comments, Dmitri and Laura?
Dmitri, we've had a lot of confusion about this question about proposal number, and the DIS team has directed those questions to the engines team. Is that number that they're asking for on these forms not the actual proposal number that you get once you submit your proposal, but before that? Is that the INQ 22 number they got with their original concept outline acceptance letter?
So Laura, I'm not quite sure in what context, where would they enter the proposal number?
Julia, do you still have that question?
It
well, there's
was-
2 places.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
It was the other supplemental documents,
Okay.
consolidate personnel lists and mandatory disclosure, I think.
Yeah, so I understand.
And also
So-
on the regional maps, I believe.
yeah, so the only number they can enter is the one that they would actually know at the time that they're completing that document. So when you start your proposal, you'll get a proposal number, but once you submit, that will not be the proposal number assigned to your actual proposal. So just add the proposal number that you have when you're creating the proposal itself. It's going to be attached to your proposal, and so we'll have the documents correctly. So that's the only proposal number that they'll have at that stage. So it's not referencing the LOI number or the concept outline number, just a proposal number that you have as you're creating the proposal.
So that temporary one?
Is it this one, Dmitri?
Yeah, yes, that's correct. So just the
Okay.
temporary, that's the only number that they'll have at that stage.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? I thank you for your time. If there's a question that you thought of, but you weren't able to ask, or, we had so many people on the call, we weren't able to ask all of them, just make sure it's in the chat. We can get the transcripts for that, or email Engines. And we will find someone to help you. All right. Yes.
Stephanie, there was a question about all of the questions that we've directed them to send them to engines at nsf.com. .gov. Will they be addressed publicly? There was quite a few people asking about that.
Yeah. So yeah, Julia. So what we'll do is create in the current FAQ. There's already a section related to the questions are categorized, and so we will create a section for Research.gov and registration and categorize those questions and place all of the frequent questions from today in that category. And once we have updated the FAQ, those answers will be posted after December 15th. And then we will send a notice to all of the folks who have responded, who have submitted an LOI. They'll receive a notice that the FAQ has been updated, along with any updates to the BAA itself.
Okay. Well, that's all from me. Dmitri, I didn't know if you wanted to close or say any final words.
Nope, that's it. And so just want to thank everybody for attending. Hopefully this was very helpful. And if you have any outstanding questions, any questions that weren't addressed today, again, feel free to submit them to engines@nsf.gov. Keep in mind that we're responding as quickly as possible, but there are tons and tons of questions in the box, in the email box. So we're trying to get to them within 2 to 3 business days.
Okay. And there will be a recording of this, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So there'll be a recording and it'll be publicly available, and an announcement again will go out with all of these details about where you can access the video, the updates to the FAQ, and the BAA will go out after December 15th.